Good day, Kaika. How are you, sir?
Good, man. Good. Excited to get on here and just, go into the nuances of fitness and dive a little bit deeper into fitness and health because it's definitely a conversation that needs more than 5 minutes. So I'm excited to talk about fitness and anything you got planned today.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do with this podcast. And how about we dive into introducing you more formally? Because this is like we just hop right in. I don't do intros. I love for the person to describe who they are. So why don't you tell the audience who you are and how did you get to do what you're doing now?
Awesome. Thanks, man. So I am Ikiaka Mahuka. So I was born and raised actually in a small island known as American Samoa. And in Samoa, we actually are the obesity capital of the world. I think right now we're two, but for the past 20 years, one and two. So it's health is definitely a huge concern in American Samoa. And I would say that had a huge influence on me becoming a trainer. But yeah, I grew up there. I played football and baseball most of my life. And then eventually I left the island at 18 to play baseball in Chicago for a few years. And while I was there, studied finance, played baseball, stayed busy, stayed healthy. Well, not stayed healthy, but stayed active. So I stayed active since that was kind of like what you had to do playing sports. And then right after sports, I worked in banking for a few years. And like we said earlier, I was in banking and coaching people at the same time during COVID when they had to work from home. And from there, I kind of got a little bit more passionate about helping people with fitness. I always knew that I loved working out, but I didn't know how it would, I didn't know it was a career actually until a trainer. He would always make deposits at our bank, and I'd be like, "Hey, what do you do?" He's like, "I just got the certification and started training people." So then that kind of motivated me to get the certification. And then, like I said, I started training people early in the morning before work, and then eventually I had enough clients to transition, and I became a trainer full time. And then so I did that. I actually started at I don't know if you ever heard of F45.
Mhm.
So I started there as my first like intro into maybe having like an actual job in training because I was training people like on my own for fun, like in the mornings and the evenings. But that was like my first time getting paid for it. And then from there, I was able to develop like my own clients through just like online marketing. I had a blog, and then now I do mostly one-on-one training, and then I coach part-time at a gym called Orange Theory.
I love hearing about transitions that come from the corporate world to the fitness world. Like those are really powerful. Those are really powerful ones because I feel like you can relate to people changing their lives to a different degree. Like that's a scary thing. I mean, I always seen it as a blessing that at a young age, it wasn't immediately after high school, but about a year or so after, it's like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I got to be. And there's a lot of people who remain disillusioned into where should I be? And they could be in their job in 25s, 35, 45, hating their job. And then for you to be in that position is like, yeah, I don't like this. I got to make this switch. That's a hard leap of faith. And to some degree, you can even relate to people who have to change their life for health to understand what it's like to do something scary, something new. So, what was that transition like going from being a banker to I'm going to help people?
No, it's cool you mentioned that because, like, when I think about the process, it was also me getting healthy myself, right? Because
Mm.
when I started working for banking, I actually had my first kid. I was only 20. I had my first kid at a young age, and I couldn't play baseball anymore. So I actually gained like 50 pounds when I started working for the bank, right? I ballooned up, and initially, I try to do like the same thing I did, just hit training and who cares what I eat? And so I slowly started making lifestyle changes myself. I started taking longer walks. I started drinking more water. I started sleeping better, like the little things you do with clients, the little habits. And from there, I kind of applied that mindset to becoming a trainer, right? It's like, okay, I can't get certified and get clients all in one day. How do I do this? Okay, let me start by putting 30 minutes a day of study for my certification, right? Once I got my certification, let me reach out to one person a day to see who I can train. And then right after that, it's like, let me put in 30 minutes a day towards my blog. So it's just kind of like starting very small, building the momentum. And eventually by doing those habits every single day, just like weight loss or muscle gain or getting healthy, the vision of becoming a personal trainer came to life as well. So I've never thought of it that way, but it's cool you mentioned that transition is the same as like people trying to get healthy, you know? and I was trying to get healthy, but at the same time, I was also trying to start a career. So yeah, no, that's kind of how that works. So it's just like we do with clients, weekly goals and just doing things that are realistic week to week, and then slowly progressing on what you built and making it a lifestyle.
That's so cool. And that's very true. It's very analogous to it. It's that little simple thing, like the simplest thing you said, just 30 minutes a day. I feel like I even have habits that I underestimate until I apply it. It's this the principle of just 30 minutes a day of one thing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this book called The One Thing. It's a terrific book for people in career and life. And it really does revolve around the 80-20 principle, which is Pareto's principle. Are you familiar with Pareto's principle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like 80% of your results comes from 20% of your perceived efforts, right? And you always want to look for that because it's everywhere in life. It's like 80% of the traffic's on 20% of the roads. Some businesses, a lot of businesses will have 80% of the revenue from 10%, or sorry, 90% of the revenue from 10% of their clients. And it just shows up all over the place. In fitness, there 10% of what you can of actual perceived efforts gives you like 90% of your results, right? So what is the one thing right now that you could do for 30 minutes that would give you 90 or 80% of what you need? And for yourself, it was, I just need to study something every day. And that 30 minutes a day adds up to over 2.5 hours, 3 hours a week, adds up to getting your certification and then adding something on that. Someone needs to hear that and be like, hey, can you do a 30-minute walk a day? Can you just do one thing? And habits build off of showing up for that one thing. I'm really curious of this. Do you remember the trigger point? Because like, that's a big moment in someone's life. Like, I'm doing this. Like, I'd be really curious to know about that moment you felt in your gut. You're like, I gotta.
The trigger point on becoming a trainer or just getting into fitness?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Like I said, I worked with banking and trained people and got paid for 2 years, both. Mm-hmm. Right. But like the trigger point on when I said I'm leaving banking, or the trigger point on when I said I'm just going to start becoming a coach?
Just wanted to be a coach. Like, I got to do this. Like, this is my thing.
Dude, honestly, because I don't know, like, did you grow up your whole life like working out? Like, when did you start working out?
So on and off most of my life because I was a chubby kid. So I can remember in grade 6 doing an ab tape, but actually not even like, and then I was on and off once I got my first bench press in like grade 10, like on and off for a while. But then I was really into it by like grade 11 and 12. Okay. And then got into boxing after that. And then it was really ingrained in me to work out at that point. Okay.
So pretty long, still pretty long, and it's embedded in your life as a young kid. Yeah. So same here. I mean, I started because when I was 10 years old, when I was 8 years old, I got really sick, like almost died sick. And then when I healed, I gained a lot of weight because my family was just like, I don't want this kid to get sick and skinny again. So I gained a bunch of weight up until I was like 12. I was super heavy. I was like 11 years old, 5'3", 220 pounds. Right. And I grew up in an athletic household. My dad was a college running back. And so having a chubby kid, he was just like, he would always say comments like, what did I do wrong with you? Like, why are you so big? You're not my kid. Things like that. Really? And so because of that, I was just like, shit, the only way I can be loved by my dad is to get skinny and lose weight. So at 12 years old, I took it upon myself to just like, it's not healthy. I didn't even know what I was doing. I ordered the 1-a-day pills, the multivitamin. Okay. And in my head, I was like, if I take this 1 a day, I don't need food. I just need this pill. Wow. Right. And so for 6 months, I did that. Not 6 months, I'll say like 4 months, but it was a 6-month weight loss journey. But in the span of 6 months, I lost 80 pounds as a 12-year-old kid. Holy shit. Right. And it is not healthy. Right. But it taught me the power of consistency and how much moving heals you. So I worked out every day and I did the 1-a-day pill. And I think I had just like a carton of milk a day. And that was my diet. And I lost 80 pounds. Right. But what I found was like, even though losing the weight felt like I got my dad, like me and my dad's relationship did get better when I lost the weight. But like what really made me happy was being in the gym and working out and doing my push-ups and doing my runs. And so from 12 years old up until 21, when I left, gym was my happy place. right? And so I think I mentioned earlier was that trainer who came in and was like, bro, I just hang out at the gym and I train people all day. And I was like, shit, that's a job. You know, and I was like, I can be at the gym all day. Like, that's a job. So I would say that initiated the thought process in my head to like, I got to do that job because like there's no place I love more than being at the gym and working out and moving my body. And then he had that conversation with me, but then I was just like, it's not realistic. I got a kid. I need to make money. I need to advance in banking. So I was like, how much does he make? Because he kind of made the pause. So I had an idea how much he made. And so I was like, that's not going to be able to support my family. But once I had enough clientele to make the same as the bank, that's when I left. But I would say that's what kickstarted it, was meeting that personal trainer and him telling me like, I just hang out at the gym and I train people. And that's what, and like, as weird as that sounds, like it comes from a deep, way deeper, because like that was my happy place even before that trainer came. Right. And so that just kickstarted like, oh, this is a job. And that's where I was like, okay, I can make this a career. And I was like, there's no other happy place. And so I need to make that what I do 8 hours a day.
I love that. I know that moment of like, I could do this. Like, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by the trigger point. That's totally what I wanted to hear. It was just the thing that like shifts something inside you. Like, I had like a lot of love for training before I knew I was going to be a trainer. Totally. I was like trying to be a carpenter at the time. I wanted to be a carpenter when I was like 18, 19. And it was, I'd already knew about trainers. One of my hockey coach as a trainer later on did mentor me a bit, but it was that moment where I first started training someone. Initially he was training with me, and then I just said, I'll walk you through the workout. And I remember like helping him and how much fun it was to help him, show him what I was doing, and watching that person change too. And you have that little moment inside you where you said, I'd do this for free. Why wouldn't I do this? Right. So that's,
you can do it all day.
That's so powerful, right? Because I don't think too many people have that in banking.
So, no, 100%. No. I mean, I enjoyed banking because it exposed me to that trainer. But it was different. It was crazy. Like, because I was training people early in the morning, my wife's siblings and like some friends. I say, hey, meet me at 5 a.m. at 24s and I'll train you, you know, because like I love training. This was even before I met the trainer and got certified. So I was already training people. Like you said, like every time someone wanted to work out, my whole life, whether it's my cousins, my friends, it was like, hey, Kike will take you through a good workout, you know? And that was my whole life. And so when he told me, like, this is a job, like, bro, I've been doing this my whole life. Like, I can make this a job. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how to, like, get paid doing this, you know? So, yeah, that was kind of like, I guess it was just always there. But I maybe didn't make excuses, but maybe just didn't fully see it being my career at the point. Because, you know, when you're 18, 16, you want to chase the money. You know, I was thinking banking or doctor, engineering. And then you start realizing, like, this is my whole life. Like, bro, I gotta do something I enjoy. And that's about 2 years into it. I was like, I don't enjoy this, you know? And so that's when I made it a career.
Totally. When you're choosing your career, you got to know that it's at least 50% of your conscious life, right? If not more. And sometimes it's often more. When you're awake, you're doing something. And like, I mean, it is what defines you in this world. Who are you? What do you do? How do you contribute to society? How are you helping other people? And to look back at a career, and people can have this in all sorts of ways. Like I seen this with my buddy who was in hydro. It didn't excite me. I was in hydro. My dad actually told me, man, you're crazy. Why aren't you staying with hydro? You could retire when you're 55. They got an amazing pension. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't excite me. I don't look back at that career and think, oh man, look at all the things I did. I realized though, my friend actually had that, where he was so proud. He'd be like, oh, we put up that transformer there. Yeah, we did that one over there. And so people can have that reflection within their career. And for me, I think of the people that I've impacted. And that's what you want. You want to be able to look back at that part of your career and be like, that's the impact I made. And that's really the definition of how I've been a part of this world. So I think it's great. When you think now where you're at in your career and just how you've evolved as a trainer over the years, what do you think makes you stand out? You know, call it your expertise, call it your specialty, call it what makes you unique. What do you think really defines you as a trainer compared to other people?
That's a good question because like you said earlier, it's an easy barrier to entry, right? We all just get certified, or like you probably don't even need a certification, right? As long as you love exercising and you've built a good body yourself, that's your certification that you can kind of use to train people. But I would say for me, it's my and this is like I think this has to do with any career. It's my trauma around like body image and around exercise. I think that gives me a deeper lens to most people's struggles. You know, I've been super fat. I've been super skinny as an adult. I've gained weight having kids and I've lost the weight. Um, you know, and there's just a lot of body image and body dysmorphia that goes on there. And because of all that, I told you about my dad growing up, you know, like because of experiencing a lot of that, like I truly feel when someone says like I've tried everything and I can't lose weight. And when you can truly feel that when someone says it, the conversations are just deeper. The ability to find something that that person can really do becomes a lot more clearer. Like I think, and I don't want to be like niche and say like I just truly love helping people. Like I can truly feel people. I'm empathetic towards a lot of things that people go through when it comes to health and fitness, and because of that, like I'm willing to listen and like I still hold people accountable, but you know I can help people have grace, but also move forward because I've had grace with myself as an adult, and I've still been able to move forward with my fitness goals and my health and but there's no specific thing like not like mobility thing, no healing recovery thing. It's just my ability to have open conversations with people and allow people to feel welcome in that kind of setting, that fitness, that health setting that a lot of people are uncomfortable with. You know, that's not the norm for most people. Like going to a gym for an older lady who's been running her whole life is like, I don't know, people are judging me. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm able to empathize with that person and slowly get them to have confidence in themselves by doing little things, just listening to them, being able to listen to what they have to say and truly feeling, and then allowing them to be like, hey, this is exactly what you feel. This is how I think you can move forward. And I'm good at like finding exactly what they need to move forward because I know exactly how they feel. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Oh, 100% it does. It's not as flashy as a mobility program or a bodybuilding program, but it actually is what most people need in this world, and that is empathy for their struggles and how difficult it is just to be healthy and eat healthy. It is so against most people in this world. There's a reason why 95% of diets don't last. Doesn't matter how well they're constructed. People are working against their biology and their environment constantly. And for you to come from that background, very similar. I grew up a chubby kid, not quite to your extent. I always actually even say, I can even relate as well as you can. I would say if someone came from being very overweight, you might even be a more empathetic coach because you appreciate that level of how much that it changes your psychology. I was always chubby. And then I eventually gained or lost the weight. Now we'll go up and down in my weight a little bit as a personal trainer, but not drastic. And that I do believe it gives you so much more insight, right? It's playing the game, right? It's like if you were a coach for something and you only watch it from the sidelines and saying you can empathize for someone, you know what it's like to be in there. It's like, coach, you never played the game. And so I'm not saying you can't see. So from boxing, right? And if I'm not saying that boxing coaches, because it's definitely not a fact, that boxing coaches who aren't in the ring at all can't be a good coach. But I don't think they can be as good at certain things because if you don't stand in the ring, you don't see the tells, you don't feel the hard breath, you don't know that battle. And you may or may not agree, but I think you might agree. When someone is naturally more of an ectomorph, they turn into start getting some muscle mass on them and they turn into a trainer. I will always say that if they have good information, you might have good information, but I don't think that makes you a great coach. That is like being basically a bit of a nepo baby, getting your dad's business given to you and saying, I know how to run your finances. You might know how to run the finances of a well-established business, but you can't tell me run my business that's actually having a hard time getting by because I'm a small business trying to work my way up. And you can't empathize for that. You can't understand that struggle. And it's a real thing. You mentioned something very important there, and I'd love for you to go deeper. You use the term grace with yourself. Let's go a little deeper on this. What does that mean? Because I think some people can be very hard on themselves, and I think that's what you're leading into. So go a little deeper on that. What did you mean by that?
So when I say grace, like we live, I don't know if this culture is changing a bit, but it's like don't be a pussy, don't be a bitch, just do the work, you know? And because of that culture embedded in you, when you are not able to complete a certain task, you're like, oh, I'm just a loser and I can't do this thing. Right. And so grace-based coaching, how I look at it, like before I started my fat loss program, or at least when I started my fat loss journey in my 20s after having my first kid, it was first of all, it was a lot harder than losing weight as a kid. Losing weight as a 20-year-old is way harder than losing weight as an 11-year-old. But what I would say is in my 20s when I first started it, I was like, I'm gonna do 7 workouts a week, and if I don't do it, it's not gonna work. And so I do 4 that week, because I have a kid and a job and things to do, and you can't make it to your workout. Instead of, initially I was like, man, it's never going to happen because like I don't work hard enough. I'm not dedicated enough to the program. But instead of doing that, I'm like, okay, have grace with yourself. Like you have a family, you have a kid. This allows you to then open up the idea for new ways to do things. Right. And so I had grace with myself. So I was just like, okay, hey man, like you have a kid, it's okay. Like things will happen. But because you're having grace, you're not just giving up on that thing. You're moving forward, but changing up the program a little bit. And that's why I meet with my clients every week. If this week it didn't work, okay, instead of, walking for 40 minutes a day, let's change it to 30 or 20 minutes a day this week. Can you do that? Okay, empathize with yourself. But then when you can empathize, I think that allows you to then take other action rather than take no action. Right? It goes from like 80% of the plan to 50% of the plan rather than 80 to 0, which is what you said. 95% of people fail. They go from 100 to 0 after week 1, right? But you'd rather have them go from like 100 to maybe 50 this week. Have grace with yourself, but still take action because the grace allows you to open the possibility that I can still do it, maybe just not that much. I don't know if that makes sense. That's just what came to my mind.
Yeah, no, I figured that's what you were meaning. I thought grace was just a unique terminology for it. I thought it was a nice way to say it because it's a matter of literally just trying to be a bit more positive with yourself than negative self-doubt. And my sister-in-law had done her thesis on checking into the psychology of athletes, and athletes that actually have more empathy for themselves and more compassion for their mistakes and aren't necessarily hard, actually can perform better over a long period of time. And so when people, and which is totally like a misconception, it's like you think you'd be hard on yourself. It's like, I think they just don't give up, right? The people who actually stay, they have the staying power of continuing to excel in the sport and having that grace, having that compassion for themselves to, okay, I'm not going to stay in the hate. I'm going to pay attention to my mistake, and then I'm going to keep pushing. And that's a very exhaustive process. I always tell people that yo-yo diet is my favorite because they actually always want to keep showing up. But if they can have what you mentioned, that grace of maybe it's not all or nothing, it's always what's enough. It's always what's enough. And what's enough today can change. That grace, rather than the up or down, it's up and down slowly. And it's, when people say I'm an all or nothing person, it's like lose that identity immediately because you just told me you're going to do nothing. You didn't tell me it's all or nothing. You say you're all or nothing, you'd already be doing it, right? You're going to guarantee yourself nothing. And compassion goes a long way for that. What would you say is some other really good insights? Because I think it's such an incredible story you come from, knowing that you had that drastic of a weight loss and then you've been through all these other things. What are some other tips you have for people when it comes to like body image and trying to actually improve their health long term?
I think when it comes to body image issues, if you feel like you're going through that, you got to surround yourself with people who value you for things other than your body, right? What helped me get through is because I was just always like, if I don't have a 6-pack or if I'm not 15% body fat, I have no value. Like I'm a loser, and I thought like that for the longest time, even with 2 kids. Like I have 3 kids now, but with 2 kids, I was like, if I have a 6-pack, my kids think I'm a loser, and it's just something you probably go through having body image issues. But after meeting with like a therapist and her telling me like, hey, you got to text those you love on a weekly basis and just let them know like how you're doing and how things are going, and surrounding yourself with people who value you just for who you are. right? Once you slowly change that, like I still have some body dysmorphia issues. Like I'll look in the mirror and maybe I'm bloated and be like, oh wow, I look like crap. But I am assured that my wife loves me because of, not because of how I look, but because I help her with like kids, the way I treat her, the things I do for her, you know. And this detaches my value also from the gym, right? Because like I feel like in order for me to have value, I got to be working out every day, and so that really freed up time for me, honestly. When I was able to get away from the body image issues, I'm like, I don't got to be at the gym 10 hours a week in order to be of value. I just got to show up for those that I love and take daily actions. And that's going to be real value. And it's not like just something that's in my head, because I'm having these conversations with people that I love on a weekly basis. And it's real conversations rather than the conversations I have with myself in my head because of my experience. So I guess to say, just you got to surround yourself with people who really love you and know you for who you are, whether that's like friends, family, wife, spouse, like, and just truly like have deeper conversations with them. You know, call your friend, FaceTime your friend, have lunch with your friends. Like we live in a society, you probably know, it's super lonely. You know, you feel like you have to do everything on your own, but reach out. I promise you, like if you're struggling with body image or just humans got to reach out to other friends on a weekly basis, no matter what. Make that a must do, and it's going to really allow you to realize like my money, my body, my, you know, all these things that we see as value are not really like what's going to bring you value. What's going to bring you value is having like intimate conversations with people and understanding them, and them also just like speaking to you like as a human to human, like us right now, right? We're learning things about each other because we're just having longer than a 10-minute conversation, and we're diving deeper into topics that we can self-analyze, right, ourselves through just this conversation. And so yeah, that's how I was able to get through. I mean, I think it's always going to be a struggle, but that's how I'm slowly like detaching myself from the way I look and from having to work out all the time, was just having more conversations with people I love, because it showed me that like this is amazing, like this is real value, and I love this way more than looking at myself and seeing it's like it's way more meaningful than looking at myself in the mirror and loving the way I look.
That's so powerful. That's really good advice. I haven't heard someone talk about it in that context, is like focus on the relationships that don't require it, because that's the most meaningful thing. And it reminds me of how I tried to create value for myself when I was a chubby kid. I actually relatively proud of myself at a young age to be mature enough to say, you're going to be in shape one day. Like I'm going to make sure I get there, but don't let it define you now. Just be a funny person, be an awesome person for others, so that when you are in better shape, you're a good person in good shape rather than an asshole. And
Yeah.
that actually really did change my character and perception. And as you mentioned, it also is so important when you're chasing this better body image that you don't become so absorbed by it, that it's not all that defines you, because the pain in the ass thing is it takes up a lot of your time and space in your mind to accomplish it. And when it works, it feels great. But then if it's not working great, then you feel completely like you're not yourself. You lost value, right? And so, because body weight's going to go up and down. Even when you get in shape, it's fucking really hard to sustain it. And
Yeah.
one thing I do find, though, is the term body dysmorphia. I believe we should try to see it on a spectrum rather than seeing it so defined. It's like, because true body dysmorphia is like anorexia, right? Or the people who are taking steroids that think they need to get bigger and they clearly fucking don't. Like I've seen these people. I went to a gym with a guy and he's like, man, like you're already a handsome dude. You're already a great looking guy. He's taking antidepressants. He goes on cycles. He looks like a cartoon character. He's so big. And you better believe that when you get off of those steroids, that's going to be the worst depressant, right? Because you just went from a mood enhancer and you took it away. And when you see people, like, to me, that's body dysmorphia that's unhealthy. I think there's still a spectrum that's unhealthy for us. It's not so black and white, whether you have it or don't. It's when you have that, you mentioned the value you have for yourself is so hinged on, did I get a workout? Did I eat too much? And then that actually can cycle you worse when you're like, I ate too much. Oh man, no, fuck it. I might as well. I'm just a fat kid eating. And those thoughts go through my head too. Like the exact thing will happen in that cycle. I'm willing to bet that you can empathize. So my clients are like this. And so when we attach too much to that result and everything like that, that's where it can cycle out of control. And as you mentioned, focus on the relationships. That's always the constant, and it's like, this is the one thing that I'm personally working on. I'm not saying I'm right about. If we can ever make peace with the self-critic, we can work constructively rather than destructively. And so if you want something out of your fitness or physique, it doesn't have to be knock yourself down, but rather reevaluate yourself and how can we improve? It's the same picture, looking at it in a different way. Rather than saying, man, you're so fat. It's like, I want to lose weight. Two very different things. One's action oriented. The other's very negative, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so small. It's like, I want to build muscle. Be very specific to what you want in the action process and almost neutral to what you don't have, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you don't get that, this is like the old man on deathbed perspective. If you didn't get it when you're 80, 90, 100 years old, did that ruin your life? Is that what you're dreaming of when you're actually about to, think of the rest of your life? No. And I think there's also an important perspective too of understanding what is okay for body concept and what's not. So this is more of a hot topic, and I think debatable. I think kind of for people to consider. You mentioned social media's ideas of what is healthy, what looks healthy, because I agree that if you're a fit person or even close to being a fit person, you should not put too much on that value. You miss a workout, you're usually healthy. It's not a big deal. But who should worry about it? What is healthy and what isn't healthy? And so that's where I think there's a gray zone to talk about here. I'd love to know your perception of that. What should people be concerned about when it comes to what is healthy and body image?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it, like body image, because there is overweight is overweight. You can't deny that you're overweight, right? And when you're overweight, it's going to be healthy to not be overweight, and you can call that body image, or you can just call that wanting to be healthy, right? But if you have a six pack and you want to gain another 30 pounds of muscle, or I wouldn't say six pack, because six pack can just mean low body fat. But if you're huge and you want to gain even more muscle, then that's where it's like, okay, like, hey man, you're good. Like you mentioned that, and that's where it can be like negative. That's where the body image, you could say, becomes a negative impact on yourself. But I do think that it is important to understand that the bodies you see on social media they're trying to sell something, right? So because of that, their value does depend on their body. And so you don't want to compare yourself to that. So when people see things online, I think there are a lot of unrealistic, that's one thing I did too in this self-learning journey of body image and understanding who I love and who loves me and value was I got off social media for 8 months.
Ooh,
and that was such a game changer.
Holy shit, good for you. I was looking to do a month again. 8 months. It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, so I was off for 8 months and it's hard because I run an online coaching business, but it was all email marketing, but I had to get on eventually because, you're a coach, you have to get online and post stuff. But yeah, so I was off, and that not only let all those images of six packs and all these things on what I think is healthy out of my mind, but it also freed up a lot of time for me to have just my own thoughts on myself and my body and my conversations and my kids. I learned holy shit, these kids look up to me 24/7. And if I'm on my phone 6 hours of those 24, they're going to think, oh, this phone's more important than me. Right. And that's just specifically for parents. But that made me more aware of how much people impact me rather than things I look at and things I'm going to compare myself to. But that aside, in terms of like, I don't want to say using BMI, but maybe just like a fat percentage. Like maybe if you're like, you know, like if you're above 30 as a male or above, what is it, 35 as a female, then you got some fat to lose to improve your overall health.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe having that as a measurement for like the Gen Pop, you know, rather than like BMI or body weight, and that'll kind of allow people to realize when you stay within this body fat percentage, you're gonna max the benefits of your health, and when you get under it, what's the real reason we're doing that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like I've gotten to like 12. I got to 12 last year, and that's when like I was at the peak of like shit. Why am I doing this? Like I'm a shitty husband right now. I'm impatient with my kids.
Yeah.
Why did I think getting to 12% was gonna make me a better dad? Because that was my motivation. Oh, because my wife was pregnant. We were gonna have a third kid, and I was like, I got to get healthy for this third kid. I gotta, you know, get lean, and it's gonna make me a better, more energy, have more energy as a father, be more present. And I was like, all I'm thinking about is my workouts. All I'm thinking about is food. And then my kids ask me questions. I don't want to answer because all I'm thinking about is food, right? And so there's like when you get to that like baseline of like healthy, there's unhealthy, and that's where I was at. And so I was like, okay, like I feel best at around 16 to 19% body fat. That's when I'm most patient. That's when I can eat some flexible foods and I can eat out with my kids without taking my meal prep with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's I think having the self-awareness to realize when you get to that point that's unhealthy, you just got to know. And you only know based on like how you treat the people around you.
Mm.
Right.
That's fair.
Because you look in the mirror like, no, I look good. I'm healthy. You know, I'm lifting weights. But then like, oh, you're a jackass because like you have no patience or you're hungry all the time. And all you talk about is like, oh, look at the macros on this food. Why are you eating that? You know, like when you get to that point. But I think the only way to get there is to actually experience it, you know, because when you're getting healthy and you're on the road, you're going to want to keep going and going and going and see how far you can go. Right. But when you get to that point, that's where like the relationships you have with people are going to tell you whether this is really healthy or not, because you're going to treat people differently. You're going to act differently. And there's certain things that are going to consume your mind and your actions more than they really need to, because you're a healthy guy. But why are you thinking about it this much? You know? And I think that's kind of where it becomes like negative. I don't know. That was just me talking through and thinking about it right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered anything.
Great answer, because it's a real experience, especially because it's so relevant, because you said you did it recently, and especially as a dad, it's a big one. I've really wondered that, because I do plan on having kids very soon, and I am obsessed with fitness, but because it's fun, right? It's my job, it's my passion, and I feel like I really wonder, it's like, how much more of a concern am I still going to have? Would you really talk about those? Is really interesting. Body fat percentage is more ideal to know, but it's hard for people to get that answer.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Because like you do skin folds, you need someone to do skin folds. The DEXA scan's expensive. Those in-body scans, those fucking, you know, the scales, that they're bullshit. They don't even come close to actually an accurate number. So it's hard. I do think it's right. I think like body fat percentage is more ideal. I always tell people to think about a DEXA scan if they can get one, but like pay for it if you're really invested, because do a point A, do a point B, because then you're putting money in the game. And it's like, because, you know, here in Canada, like where we're at, you can get it for $200 for the first one, but then $100 for a follow-up. So it's like, okay, that's $300 all in. Commit to 6 months. Like, commit to 6 months, whether you do a trainer or not. You probably should if you're that committed, right? I don't even care if it's me. I just want people to get help, right? And so then you have that more conclusive data and you really care. If you don't want to do that, BMI isn't great if you are someone with muscle mass. If you're someone that doesn't strength train and, you know, just has a larger stomach, like you have a big waist, it probably is pretty close. But then you can take it a step further. Hey, let's just look at the waist to height ratio. I think this is a sleeper. This one is something everyone can do. You just simply measure your waist, you measure your height, and you compare that in average numbers on there, those ratios. That's better than BMI to me, because I can have a high BMI with a lot of muscle mass, but if I have a smaller waist to height ratio, I have a better chance. And these are all probabilities too. Someone could have a slightly higher than average waist to height ratio, but if they're strength training, they're doing aerobic training, they're eating healthy, similar to yourself having maybe around 15 to 17% body fat, if you are keeping all the healthy behaviors and you're slightly higher on that, I wouldn't worry about it because it's always a range. It's predictability. Mortality rate is all just data from previous history. And we're going to assume the best we can in the next 10 to 50, 20 to 50 years. So it's just an assumption. But it's a pretty safe assumption that if you're at least closer to one of those ranges with the waist to height ratio, you're probably in the, as long as you have the right habits. Because there can be someone with a low body fat percentage, terrible habits, right? Not eating well, no aerobic training, no muscle mass. And that doesn't mean they're going to live longer, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of spectrums there to consider. But I do think it's really interesting how you mentioned how pushing that envelope. I had a colleague on here that talked about the same thing. He walks around 18, 20% body fat. I always talk about him on this because I think it's a really good sign of you can make fitness be a spectrum. And he said when he got to 13, it was unsustainable. It was very difficult, similar to what you described. When he walks around at 20% body fat, his heart rate's at like 42 beats per minute. I'm like, holy shit. I don't even know if I've touched that since I was a boxer, if I did. And it's like, he's clearly going to live long, right? He's not having a hard time. And it is helpful for people to know that when it comes to body image, we're not asking you to be the most jacked lean person. Just try to get out of the high risk zones. Try to lower your waist circumference, have an appropriate amount of strength training and good nutrition. I think that's the big thing. But, you raised another really good point. We had just threw around some ideas before the show. And this is a really interesting one because it sounds like you might have some insight. The need for training specific to elderly, because I have some older people I train, but I just love for you to go deeper on that. What was your perspective on that?
Yeah, no, this is new to me because like I was, I usually work with maybe 40 to 55-year-old women, like, because I don't know. I think for like menopause, and then I think those older women like being around like young, strong guys. So I think that has something to do with it. But they need help too. They're going through menopause and they like want to strength train, which is cool today. Like women are wanting to strength train, and so that was like my initial clientele. And then I just 7-year-old randomly just called me like maybe a year and a half ago, him and his wife, and he's like, my wife just had ankle surgery and she's having trouble walking and she needs training. And so I was like, okay, I've never trained them, but I guess I'll take it on since you guys are like open. They were like, we'll pay for 48 sessions. So I was like, shit, let's go. Like I didn't even meet them, and so I was like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And then I met her and she's just barely like this old lady, like barely walking. And I was like, holy shit, please. Like, I hope it's not the lady. Cause like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with her. Right. But then she's like, hey, are you Ikiaka? And then I started training her. And then like, initially we just picked up dumbbells off the floor, sit down, get up. Eventually got to step ups. Now she's deadlifting about 100 pounds. She's goblet squatting 40-pound dumbbells. And it's just like, this takes so much pressure off of their kids. Like that's a big thing. Like their kids have to take care of them. It makes life so much easier for them. Like it doesn't have to be debilitating. Like I had one of my clients who was like, I can put my she was crying. She was like, I don't have to ask someone in the airplane to put my baggage in the carry-on in the luggage overhead, because I'm always like nervous that I have to ask people to help me out with this. Or my grandkid came and jumped on me and I held him. And it was like, I was like, hey, wait, can I do it? And she did it, things like that. And she started crying. And I was just like, dang, like there's no like market for like specifically older people. Cause I was a trainer. I'm a new trainer. I'm still like 3 years in, but I'd never thought to train someone like that. And I don't think most people do. Maybe PTs, like physical therapists, but not like a personal trainer, right? And even with PT, it's more like rehab. It's not like building muscle.
Right.
Okay, so like that was like such a crazy thing for me to realize. A lot of my people I train, like I just want to get rid of this belly, or I want to be able to do a pull up, or I want my arm fat to go away, and it's not I don't want to say that that's not vain, that's valid, but I can carry my grandkid and I can put my luggage in the overhead compartment, and I can walk down the stairs without having to hold on to my kid. It like that is like life changing for them, their grandkids, their kids, and like it just makes them cry, and that just shows you like the power of strength training for the elderly. like osteoporosis, like injuries, like falling, bruises. You know, my client, she fell down the other day. She had a bruise. We went training the next day. You know, she wasn't bedridden. She didn't have to sit down. She just came. She had that purple bruise on her arm. And I was like, okay, good. We're just not going to touch it. But guess what? You can still squat 40 pounds,
Yeah.
you know? And that's just like, you think about what's the alternative? You know, they're bedridden. They get like pneumonia or they die because they don't move for like a week. Like that's real for every 75-plus-year-old out there. So like you strength train, not only are you putting on an extra maybe 5 to 10 years to their life, but their last 20 years are going to be a lot more enjoyable.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if it registered with you, but I think you saved that woman's life because you just said that she came back from falling and she just had a bruise. If she did not work with you, what do you think could have happened? She could have separated her shoulder. She could have actually broke her hip, which is then a death sentence from being bedridden, as you just mentioned. And I think people really need to sit into this. Like when we are helping them with fat loss, yeah, we're helping you with fat loss and nutrition, stuff like that. But it's so when you're 70, you don't get frail, that you have this resiliency to life. Because if you don't, you just do the weight loss, you're going to end up barely being able to move, as that woman did walking into your gym. And I love this message, and more fucking people need to hear this. Hopefully, I'm not sure how many older people are going to listen to our podcast, but
Yeah.
social media in general, people in their 70s, right? Here's hoping that this, we'll clip this and be like, hopefully 7-year-olds listen to this. It's not too late. Like you took a woman that was getting in and out of a chair, picking dumbbells off the ground, and she's now doing what for deadlift? Can you mention that again?
100 pounds.
100 pounds off the ground.
Deadlifting 100 pounds. Yep.
I know women in their 40s, probably even 30s, that wouldn't do that. That would not squat, goblet squat, 40 pounds. Men that wouldn't do that. And it's just like, I think that's so inspiring. I think that's amazing because this is the value of exercise when it really comes down to it. Whether you are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 70s, 70s is when it's the most evident. We just don't want to lose movement. It's actually to move better. Weight loss is like actually kind of separate, right? You can lose weight without it. Just do the nutrition. Ozempic's proof. But we try to make sure you're healthier overall because of that. I think that's incredible. What a great story. Is there anything else that you think more people should know when it comes to strength training for the elderly or people in their 70s?
Like you said, it's not too late. Like my wife's grandma, she has a grandma that lives here, and like, you know, family won't listen to you when you tell them they got to train or nutrition. So, but she is very hesitant to strength train because maybe I think I don't really know, honestly. Like she's seen the pictures of the lady I train, and like I'm just like, you gotta train with. If it's not me, it's someone. But like I sense that she doesn't want to because she feels like it's not for them. Like they just gotta walk, and that's all they need. But I think, like you said, it's not too late. Like anyone can strength train. You know, it's just what can they do? Can they pick up dumbbells? Can they sit up and out of a chair? Leg press, leg extension. There's so many ways that you can approach training for the elderly. And like I said, it's so beneficial, but like it's not too late. Like anyone can strength train. Honestly, I think any personal trainer who understands movement and biomechanics will be able to train the elderly. Like any trainer can train the elderly. Like, you know, you're not going to make a trainer do elderly do burpees, right? Any trainer, whether you're a good trainer, even like a bad trainer, you're not going to make an elderly do burpees. Right. So I think like it's safe. Find a gym, go out to the gyms, like find any trainer. If you have like an auntie and uncle that's older, that's in their 70s, just find them a trainer and get them to work out if they don't already. Like they need to, the walking, the PT, yeah, that's good. But like they need muscle, like it changes their life. So it's never too late for you to strength train. And like, there's so many ways that you can go about it that like you're not doomed. Like you can figure things out. So I guess, yeah, just anyone can strength train. Like even if you're 80, like they're 78, 76, like they're almost 80. You can strength train. Like, yeah.
I think that's
I guess that's it. Yeah.
That's such a
simple
cool
as that. Just go do it. Just get them to do it. Let them try.
Let it try. You know, and it's like, no matter what, we're going to age. and it's either faster or slower. It's quality or, not, right? And it's within your control. The thing that I do feel people just think it's too late in the game, and it's like, well, the game's going to get worse before it gets better, right? But it could be better. And one of my clients that I was working with, I think he was in his 60s. I can't remember if he was 50s or 60s. I think 60s. And I remember when he started, he had some knee issues, and so we worked around it. And he actually was still adamant about, despite his knee issues and all these things and his limitations, he knew he had to train. And he told me about this book called Younger Next Year, and it changed his perspective. And I didn't even read the book, but I just loved the title. It's like, why not try to have a younger next year? If you're currently not training and you're in your 40s or 50s or anything plus, you have an opportunity to have a younger next year. You can go backwards in biology because currently you're going so fast forward that there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to save your life. And I really also want to highlight like what was really cool about that story from a trainer's perspective. I know this feeling because it was similar when I met that guy too. You're surprised as to the relationships that you will get from a person you don't feel like you actually can help. And then all of a sudden you work with them. You're like, wow, this ended up being one of the best relationships I could have. I didn't know if I was going to be the right coach for you. I didn't know I was going to do it, but you just try and you kind of meet them. It also goes to show how much of a caring coach you are, where it's like, we're just going to try. We're going to try to meet you where you're at. And I will say, actually, you give a lot of coaches out there too much credit. I don't think every trainer is that smart. There are a lot of dumb trainers that would be willing to give an elderly person a burpee because it's what's on the board today. So I don't deny that a lot of trainers can help you with the basics. And I think that is an important message. I would say try to get someone get a referral, get a trustworthy person. Especially in the case of if you're above 60 or 70, boot camps probably won't be the best thing for you because you're going to want something more personalized, unless, of course, it's a boot camp for 70 plus. Then you might have something more in line with your
We got to start that. We got to start at 70.
Boot camps for 70s. Actually, my dad joked about this, and we never got it going. But I wanted to do these winter boot camps that is in his shop because he's a farmer. He's out in the country, and I was like, all right, why don't you bring the old farmer fitness out here? It's like, all right, we'll call it old fucker fitness. Let's do it.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Never actually did it because they always talk shit about exercise, not actually doing it. Okay. I want to finish off with a quick overrated, underrated, and then one more question after just about how things are going in life for you. So overrated, underrated, if you want to go a little deeper on something, you can, but don't feel like you have to. I want to have some fun here, some rapid fire, fun topics here. Okay, overrated or underrated? Like kind of Vibrams, toe shoes.
I see people using it for like. I would say, because I don't know much about. I mean, I got the Zero shoes, and I would say underrated for me personally. But I don't know if the toe shoes are the exact same. It just looks weird. I just say overrated because it looks really awkward, and like there's a lot of other things that you can do, and like I don't know much about toes and stuff, so I say overrated. Okay. What do you say?
Yeah, so I think like basically whether it's the Vibrams, the toe shoes, or anything like that, underrated in certain circumstances, but overrated in frequent circumstances. I don't think people should be running in toe shoes because we have.
Yeah, so let's say I see people running in it, and that's why I said overrated. I think walking in it,
strength training in it, I think makes a lot of sense. Like I think they're probably good for very fixed, not high impact. I think running shoes are great for running. They're designed for the impact, so you actually can be more efficient, right? Yeah. My belief is like people ask me what kind of shoes I should wear, and I'm like, depends on what you're doing, right? If you're boxing shoes, if you're running shoes, if you're lifting shoes. So I don't think that I think they can be overrated. There's a lot of gray zone here, so don't worry. How about this? Food ingredients.
Like what you mean, like seasoning or like
the health concerns about food ingredients?
I would say overrated. Overrated in a sense that like people are feeling like it's gonna make or break their health. So I say overrated in that way. And there's no nuance in that. It's just overrated because like people are putting too much of their concern on that rather than just like, hey, how about you just cook a homemade meal and not take out the red dye from your Big Mac,
Fruit Loops,
like that. That's the answer. It's not the red dye or the whatever dextrose that's in it that's making you fat. It's that thing. Like, just go cook some burgers at home or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Good
What'd you
answer.
say?
Same. Yeah, I think like you want to have minimal ingredients as often as you can, but if you have something with a lot of ingredients and it helps you hit your protein calorie goal, that is a net healthy decision. But like I've seen people get crippled by the idea of the food list. It's like, oh, there's too many ingredients in here. It's like, how many protein calories are there? Do you digest it well? If you say you have the right protein and calorie goal and you digest it well, that's a net healthy decision for you if you're in a fat loss phase. If you say you don't digest it well, then don't fucking eat it. That sounds like a terrible idea. But people are going to cripple themselves because they see, oh, there's too many ingredients in there. And then what do you decide? What are you eating instead? You just picked up a candy bar. You had no problem eating the French fries. Like, people will make way worse decisions, but when they're trying to be health conscious, they're crippling themselves, stepping over $100 pills to pick up dimes, right? So food ingredients is not the end all be all. You want to minimize it. No argument there. But people put way too much stake in it. So fully agree.
Yeah. Like avoiding the energy, then putting butter in your coffee.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey,
No, it's pretty fun.
500 calories to start your day. But yeah, go ahead.
Creatine.
I think it's perfectly rated now. A lot of my clients are actually aware of it, like my older, my younger. So a lot of people are taking it. So I would say 5 years ago, maybe underrated. But today, I would say it's properly rated, not over, not under, because people are talking about it. I know a lot of people that take, because I coach at Orange Theory. It's group fitness with like 40 people, and honestly, I would say maybe half of them are taking creatine, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm going to say it's still underrated on the Gen Pop. Fitness culture, properly rated. For sure. It's not even overrated, which is the cool thing, right? It's not even like a supplement. This is one of the most cool supplements in that some things can be overrated eventually because you just get too excited about it. It just isn't there. If anything, there's more data coming out. There's more benefits, cognitive benefits. But like if you talk to like a non-gym goer, they're not doing it, right? So I still see it as potential.
That makes sense. I'm always at the gym, that's why.
Right. So in our circles, it's appropriately rated, but as you get outside of those circles, like, I mean, I swear there's like a year ago where I was talking to one of my clients and I swear I've told him about creatine. He's like, are you on creatine? He's like, no. It's like, how are you not? You're boxing. Like, I told you this shit already. And so it's like, it's still a slow game, but you're right. It's more often appropriately rated.
Yeah, like does your dad take creatine?
Oh yeah. I mean, he doesn't even lift weights, so you wouldn't see the point.
Oh, he does? Okay, because my mom and dad don't. Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, you're right, because my mom and dad don't even take creatine. My brothers don't either.
He doesn't lift weights, so like, I mean, he'll do anything, any sort of fat pill, multivitamin, that kind of stuff, but he will not.
Oh, okay. So he's into like the pills and supplements. So okay, got it.
Omega-3s.
I would say it's underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated. I still know a lot of people that are not taking it, and a lot of studies shown brain benefits. I do think like people are not taking enough, because I think it's 1 to 2 grams, but most of the supplements are like 800 milligrams. So I would say underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I actually got to start forcing myself to take it more.
But I don't. But when I do, I mean, I don't know that maybe it's placebo. Like before this, I took one this morning because I was like, maybe my brain gotta be ready for the podcast. Yeah. But like, I don't take it every day. I just don't like the burps.
Oh, you get the burps from it. So like, I haven't. Like my girl cooks salmon a decent amount, but I don't always eat it. So I know with her, if she's having it once a week, I'm like, don't worry about it. But like, if you don't eat it, have some. But at the same time, I think the data is there, but I don't know why I don't feel as strong, because it is a high cost if you're going to have that amount of fish oil in a high quality form. It's actually not a cheap supplement. And so
yeah, that's pretty expensive.
if I'm having protein powder and it costs that much a month, I get it because I literally get to have a protein shake. Um, Most of the other supplements aren't nearly as, it's probably one of the most expensive supplements to keep up on routinely. And so that's why I've been hesitant to be like, you have to take it or I have to take it. If I haven't had salmon, I'll have like a little bit. I usually eat a pretty lean, healthy diet. I don't have a ton of saturated fat. I have higher carb and fiber. I guess I just debate whether or not everyone needs it to that expense. That's my only, if I was wealthy enough, I'd be like, just fucking take it. But I'm trying to do the minimum effective dose, and I could be wrong. And you had mentioned the placebo effect. Like, this is one of these supplements where if you take it long enough, maybe you feel a difference. But there's also supplements where it's like, you'll never know, but you're probably better. It's like creatine. There's a percentage of people who take creatine and nothing happens. And you just got to assume that you're probably not that population, right? There's what's another one? Vitamin D. Vitamin D, how would you really know? I just know I'm not getting enough sun when I'm in Winnipeg, right? And there's even unless you go and do a vitamin D blood test, I've talked to a guy who was in Thailand, and he said in Thailand he's taking 3,000 IUs. And I'm like, okay, so that's just something you have to trust is going to help your immune system. But I don't know if I feel it, right? And so this is one of these things where I wish I could know whether or not it's worth it. And I really won't know. So that's where I'm like,
you're making that investment, like whey and creatine are a lot cheaper.
Way cheaper. Vitamin D, I actually literally get the gummies because they taste good. So it's an easy way to have it.
I was going to ask what your supplement stack was, but maybe you're probably going to do another overrated, underrated.
Let's do it. I can tell you mine, you can tell you yours, and then I got one more question for you. So my supplement stack, I got a tiered level. Okay. So when I tell people about clients, here's some of my clients about like, this is what I think you should do, because some things you may or may not need. The number one is vitamin D. That's the number one to me because a lot of people are in Winnipeg. So we have cold winters, not a lot of sunlight. So everyone should probably get one that's easy. Magnesium. Also, another one of these things you won't feel, but you do not probably get it in your diet enough. And magnesium citrate has been known to help digestion. So when people don't have good digestion, that absorbs well and it can help digestion. So that one, and bisglycinate, has been shown to reduce inflammation, possibly even help sleep. I've even been getting into magnesium threonate. That's the way I like it because it's really helped my sleep. New research is coming out that actually is really helpful for sleep. And then as far as like the ones after, I usually tell people they should have omega-3s because they're trying to improve their diet. They probably have had a high omega-6 diet and not a lot of omega-3s. So I usually tell them it's more of an A-tier supplement. And then another A-tier supplement for me would be a whey protein shake if you digest it and can enjoy it because it overlaps with food. Like, it's such a good supplement. Then my second tier, I actually put creatine in a second tier. I do think it arguably should be A, but the only argument I have for people is more cost. It is cheap, but it's like, if you're just going to try to get generally healthy, you could live the rest of your life. And yes, you're stronger if you do it. But it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily guaranteed you're going to add years to your life. Probably should do it. It's cheap. You're probably stronger, but you don't have to. I just recommend it. That's kind of how I feel about that one. There's the A tier is like, it's very, very likely going to help you. This one's maybe. And like I said, the omega-3 is kind of in between there. The one that I find that this is where I'm kind of like, I really believe in it, but I only have so much evidence. I think that veggie greens are beneficial. And I've actually argued Jordan Syed on this. Now, not the AG1. Let me be specific. I'm not saying AG1 is even bad. I'm saying it's hyped because I actually think multivitamins are mostly not that useful. And I think that veggie greens probably have a better use because from what I'd seen this like meta-analysis of multivitamins and mortality risk. 0 effect of mortality risk. And I'm just like, even more steps, even the difference between 6,000 to 8,000 steps shows something, right? Like mortality risk over a long period of time, you would think if vitamins and minerals coming from a synthetic form could help you, it would show a little bit of an impact. No impact. Now, we don't have any longevity risk on veggie greens, but I did find data that showed that veggie greens lower oxidative stress and anti-inflammatory benefits. I remember finding an article, and I can't find it again, but I did find an article that showed it lowered the incidence of colds in athletes, once again, to reduce that high oxidative stress. So and I've seen this in clients, it's not like, it's just like, kind of something I can't prove, but I got a feeling. I think that veggie greens, especially if you get a fruit and veggie concentrate, it will give you a lot of the like exposure to things that will actually help prevent you from getting colds. Now, this is where I kind of go on a bit of a hypothetical tangent. One of the biggest things that I know Paul Saladino argued against when it came to veggies was the mycotoxins, right? So he would say, oh, sulforaphane's so bad for you. All these things are bad for you because they're toxins. It stimulates. Actually, when you say you get antioxidants, it's not. It's giving you an oxidative stress, and it stimulates your antioxidizing system. So it's like exercise for your body. And that is actually what makes you more resilient to colds and other things. And so I'm like, oh, we just need an exposure. And I still eat vegetables. I still tell people to have vegetables. I tell them to have fruits every meal. But why not have that little micro exposure guaranteed? And again, I'm not saying for sure, but I think that we could see evidence over a long period of time if you have fruit and veggie concentrate along with a healthy diet. And I think that's most of my stack that I have right now that I can really think of.
When you say veggie greens, is that like a brand or just like a green?
There's multiple brands. Any sort of, because like I think that AG1, like the athletic greens, is way overpriced. Like most of that shit is useless in there. It's just branded by like some of the top podcasts, right? But I actually recommend to my clients the cheapest one that they can find that just has a mixture, a bunch of different vegetables, ideally a bunch of different fruits, because if there's any of these microtoxic effects that we want, then that'll give it to you daily. And so I think it's just like, to me, it's more useful than a multivitamin, because a multivitamin shows nothing. But this actually has some potential exposure that I think over a long period of time could help people. So that's roughly my supplement stack right now that I can think of. And like I mentioned, creatine. How about you?
So for me, magnesium is like a main one. So I go citrate before bed. What else? I do creatine, and then I do a multivitamin. That's just habit. I feel like I haven't even done like research. It's just habit to have the same multivitamin I've taken for years, because I do know I miss some vitamins and minerals from my food, and so I'm just like, okay, I'm just filling in the gaps. And then too, I started making my kids take the Higher Health multivitamin. And when I started doing that with them, I started taking mine again. So I was okay, we're all taking our multivitamins as a family. I live in Hawaii, so vitamin D is definitely, I feel like I don't need, I mean, I get super brown out here. I'm always with the tan, so I feel like I get enough sun. And then
just on that thought, I would love for you to, if you can, just as a curiosity, try to see if you can get a blood check test. Because I'm just curious, because the guy, bear in mind, he's a different genetics. Like he was a white guy in Thailand. So it might have been that he didn't absorb it well. But if you ever get a chance, try to check out your vitamin D levels. Because I'm just curious if there's like genetics that some people can absorb it well. If you're from there, I imagine you're fine. But I'd be curious if you ever go down that rabbit hole.
I've never. And then I always think like most multivitamins have vitamin D in it, right? Just not enough, maybe.
Yeah, it's like a low dose. It's like usually 800 IUs or something like that.
Okay, yeah. So that fish oils, when I remember, fish oils when I remember. That's like top tier, like you said. Like I would recommend it to my clients. This is just for me. For most of my clients, it's magnesium. A lot of them with stress, I'll do like ashwagandha to help them relax and sleep better.
Great one, yeah.
But yeah, no, for me, it's just magnesium, creatine, and then, like you said, whey protein. I do the Fairlife because I absorb that one pretty well. Cool. And that's it. Yeah, I don't take much. I mean, if I was like living in like a colder place, I'm sure I'd do more research on vitamin D. Yeah, pretty easy. Plus, to like savings, like you said, financially, like I eat really clean. I eat lean. I get a lot of red, white vegetables, fruits, and so. since I've gotten a lot better with like my daily meals, I've kind of like minimized. Like I was like ashwagandha before, or was L-theanine. I did
Mm,
all like the mushrooms, the or lion's mane. Like I did all that before, and I was like, if I just clean up my diet, I could save myself like $200
a
a
lot
month
of
on all
money.
these supplements. So I
Yeah.
kind of just like simplified it a lot better now.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's about it.
totally. And food's expensive enough if you're trying to eat healthy, right? It's already so much when you're adding vegetables to everything, and you have your meats, your lean meats, and everything like that. Like it is just ends up adding up. And so why add more? And it's so funny because people are so curious about supplements, and I always listen into like even some of the top nutrition people. I'm like, yeah, it's the same. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of the same. Like not a lot of people are on my boat with the veggie greens. Some people still believe in, like, I was listening to Alan Aragon. He believes in multivitamin, and I think that's fine. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to take, but I'm not convinced that it's for sure a good thing because I think synthetic forms are harder to absorb. And he believes in collagen, and I'm like, he
Mm,
got me kind of like curious about it because there's a way collagen could work in terms of it's very high glycine. And so you think about, let's say you have your body weight in grams of protein, you're having a decent amount of glycine, right? But it's all in the form of, meat for the most part, if it's protein, like meat, whey protein, animal based, right? Which means it's only going to have so much glycine for like the formation of meat. But the formation of tendons, like if you're having a lot of cartilaginous stuff, it'd be very high glycine. That's why bone broth actually is high glycine. And that's actually what's going to make that a little bit more of a bias to have it more availability for something that would help collagen in the body. Does it actually pan out? There's some arguments in some of the skin research, super subjective. I've heard back and forth. I don't know what I believe when it comes to the tendon strength thing because I've seen it been disproven. I've seen it been proven when you actually have it with vitamin C, but I didn't actually look deep into it whether or not it was like vitamin C and they were also on 1 gram per pound of body weight. Like, did they have enough protein sufficiently to begin with? So there's a few of those on the edge that I'm just not sure of. But for the most part, people need to know. It's just like those are filling in a little bit of the gaps, but they're not necessary, and it's not the be all end all with your nutrition. So let's leave off this because I think we had a great conversation. Those are fun chats there. What is your most recent ambition? What are you super excited about in the next few months coming down the pipeline?
Um, so I was getting into jujitsu a little bit, and I did
Mm,
want to enter like a competition, but then like the schedule got super busy, and so that kind of got off the plate. But I'm currently trying to run because I don't run. I hate running. My whole life I've disliked running, but I'm currently trying to run a 5K in under 22 minutes. So that's kind of like my newest like physical goal in terms of business. I don't know if you were trying to go business or physical, but like in
anything.
terms of business, honestly, not much. I'm actually because like I'm a trainer, but like I think we talked about this before the call. It's not a lucrative career. It's a struggle. So I'm actually studying right now for a firefighter exam. So
Cool.
that's something I'm prepping for to possibly become a firefighter. So
That's
that's actually like I want to become a firefighter. So
that's
we'll
great.
see how that goes. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that, and you probably could keep up the online training with a little bit of mixed in. Like that's a really good secondary career. I know a lot of people here locally who are firefighters. They have secondary trades and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah, you
great.
get a lot of time off, so that's kind of why I was drawn to that career. It's 18 days off a month, so I have a lot of time to like work on my business while I'm there. So that's kind of the vision. And like I told you, I got 3 kids, so expenses are definitely going up, and having the pressure of having to get new clients every month is just like I love the coaching thing, but just the pressure of having to provide for all 3 kids. I
Mm-hmm.
want like something set, and then this can be more of like something I
Side
enjoy doing.
hustle.
There's not like
Yeah,
all that pressure. Yeah.
totally. Totally respect that. I'm with you.
So that's a big change that's coming. So we'll see. We'll see how that. I'm not going back to the bank for sure, but I found a career that might allow me to still coach.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Ikiaka. We'll have another chat in the future, I'm sure. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, man. You have a great day.
Thanks again to Ikaika. I really had a lot of fun chatting with him today. That was just so cool to see the spectrum of conversations, everything from where he started out, especially his story starting out. I was not prepared for that. To say that, you had this issue with your dad and you're overweight, and then you're eating nothing but a multivitamin and a carton of milk to lose weight when you're 12. When you're 12, I was actually 12 when I first did my first ab tape, but I had no idea about nutrition. I think I was still having, bear in mind, adults still have peanut butter for protein, but I was still trying to have peanut butter as my protein source. And that was my first exposure, but not to that extreme. So I cannot imagine the difficulty of that, to go through, that in an everyday life. And for him to now be working on it. I love that he said he worked with a therapist to work on his self-image around that. Super important. And I hope some of my context or my perspective helps people with this, right? And I think his is super helpful. I want to so support what he says about you are your relationships. And I think that was so powerful that he had that perspective. And if we start there, you can build off that. So remember that you are the people that you impact. The fact that he said, I just got to look at my kid more and just realize that they look up to me, that my wife doesn't have a problem with who I am. And it's like, remember how valuable that is. And you can have more grace for yourself. And even if you are going through a weight loss journey, even if you are struggling with it, remember that people still value you above that. So when things don't go well, it's almost like a way for, as we mentioned, giving yourself grace when things aren't perfect, when you are kind of going the up and then into a downwards, it's okay. It might actually help you pull out of it sooner rather than self-hatred. You can honestly look at yourself critical, but with grace. And I think what I tried to pull into that conversation of body dysmorphia is that we don't have to label everything body dysmorphia unless you're at a very unhealthy extent, in which case you should go see a therapist. You should go see a psychologist, because when someone's anorexic, when someone's going to far health extremes, there's issues. We don't have to label ourselves body dysmorphia. I don't mind people saying it as long as you say it's on the spectrum. But I'm similar to him, that I'm on the spectrum where it's like, I don't totally see myself as others do. I compare myself to the people in the industry. And so that's how I see myself. And so I imagine the eyes that are coming from those on TikTok or Instagram and are comparing me to the other people they see. We always got to remember, and I've probably ranted about it on this show before, but I think it's valuable. You will always have a recency bias when it comes to Instagram versus reality. On Instagram, the only people who really gravitate attention, like you could actually do a little investigation on this to like see whether or not I'm right about this, but take a look at this on your reels. When you're going through reels or you're going through TikTok, every person that they send you, take a look at how many views that post has and how many followers they have. You will notice that they will give you way more of the bigger audiences, the bigger people, the bigger reels, the reels that are getting a ton of trend. They don't give you a lot of the simple ones. They give you some, they test it out, but it's far and few between. So the reason why that's important is because when you think about what kind of fitness you see, you're only going to see far end extremes. You can see probably some very overweight people, but mostly if you're into fitness and nutrition, they're going to show you very fit people because you sit on it longer. You stay there, you listen to what they have to say. So the six-pack guy showing you something in the gym, or the really fit girl wearing nothing but a sports bra cooking some food, how could you not stay there, right? And it's a bias because you saw 100 people today on your phone and 80 to 90% of them were jacked and lean. Go to your mall. Tell me how many jacked and lean people you see. I would be amazed if you saw 9 out of hundreds. So we believe that we're so far from where we need to be. And I get there. That's the dysmorphic, spectrum I'm on, but I'm at least aware of where the unhealthy is because I've done the bodybuilding show. So I've gone to that far end of the spectrum and I can totally relate to them. Where does it really matter? Where am I no longer even improving health, but simply going after a physique that doesn't help me? And I love that he found that for himself, that he found this point where oh man, that 13% body fat doesn't change, and 12% isn't where I need to be. I need to be here with my family, be here with my relationships. And I'm a great husband for that. And I think that is something I should have addressed, but I'm going to address now in the conversation. There is a spectrum of health. I walk around right now around probably 13 to 40% body fat, and it's not hard for me. I still put in effort, don't get me wrong. And I do still have to go through, fat loss phases, and I can build back up. But going upwards to 15, 17, 18% body fat is when I just have a ton of unhealthy habits. And I know my body doesn't sit there very, very well, not with healthy habits. But for him, and similar to my other colleague, Mitch, it's actually pretty natural for them. And I do think there's a spectrum of body fat percentage for a healthy person. There's people who are, again, 18% body fat, 16% body fat, who are not healthy. So it's not the end all be all, but it is somewhere where you can gauge yourself if you have access to that. And I'll highlight this again. The waist measurement. The waist to height measurement is just a real simple measurement anyone can do at home that I highly recommend you think about. You just get one of those measurements, one of those, I think it's like clothing's kind of measurements, the very loose tapes, and you measure your waist, measure your height. And I would just look for, hang on a sec here, I'll give you some numbers. I can look this up. Okay, I got this from ChatGPT here. Waist to height ratio values as far as like will be underweight, low risk, increased risk, high risk for mortality, for living longer. So underweight would be if you measure bear in mind, this is measuring your waist circumference, which I believe is they say midpoint between the lower ribs and the top of the iliac crest, usually around your belly button. But if someone has a larger stomach, so just know it's between your iliac crest and the bottom of the rib cage. Height should be the same, and you measure it in, it could be centimeters or inches, just make sure it's the same unit. Waist on top divided by the height. And so underweight would be 0.4. Low risk, very healthy range is 0.4 to 0.5 or 0.49. Increased risk is 0.5 to 0.59. And high risk is 0.6. And I think I'm actually just over 0.5 right now. I haven't measured my waist again recently, but that's just some ranges. And again, we're just trying to use data and probability here, right? Let's say you're at 0.6 and you're at 18% body fat as a male. And for a female, add 10%. But you're training 2 to 3 days a week. You have a sport, or you're doing cardio once or twice a week. You're getting 10K steps a day. You're eating your fruits and vegetables, eating your body weight in protein. You're eating enough fiber. All those habits considered, you're probably going to live a long time. Like, I think there's a really good chance. And I'll add one more thing that this is super important. I didn't mention it on the show, and I can't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast again, but this is actually super important because I think your level of happiness is reflective of your body fat percentage depending on how you live your life. And I believe that it was like ranked number 2 in the list for longevity of relationships. And I think that actually somewhat associates with, or can associate with, body fat percentage. Because if you trying to be, he mentioned him trying to be 12% body fat made his relationships worse, then it makes sense for longevity and health that he has a better relationship at home and probably literally even socializing more. Because when you go to social events, what is the number one thing we do? I'd say we have 2 things other than talking to each other. We eat food and drink. Some people don't drink, but we all like to eat food. And so if you actually have the opportunity to allow some of that food in a healthy amount on occasion, you have better relationships rather than someone's like, I got to keep my 6-pack abs. I'm not going out. I'm not having any drinks. I mean, bear in mind, not drinking is going to help you live longer. But not going out, not socializing, and not trying to include yourself in, your social relationships just because of diet, just because you're trying to be lean. That might not be healthy. Just mentally, it can probably affect you. End of the day, it's your life. You want to have the best quality of life. And to me, there is going to be a certain point everyone can have where they don't need to be that lean. He did mention something I think everyone, or not everyone, some people can consider. If you value your health, or you value the aesthetic perception that much, and that is it worth going to the far end? Is it worth getting 6-pack abs at some point in your life? I think depending on your life scenario, I'm biased, I think that's a cool venture. I've been there. But my life scenario really was okay with it. Okay. So I could do a bodybuilding show because I ran my own business. I wasn't crazy busy and I could just fucking commit to it. If I had kids, that might be very different. Now, my mentor AJ there, he did a bodybuilding show when he had kids. Fuck, that's crazy. I mean, that's amazing. Bear in mind, he's a trainer. I always think people who are doing bodybuilding shows and they're not trainers is really psychotic. Now, do you have to get a six pack to get there? Like, I'll just say that level of accountability. I'll say that the effort it takes is really high. But I think it would be wrong of me to say that it's not worth the venture if you value it to know the experience of it. Know the risks that it involves, your relationships, your energy, your day-to-day performance. And you might get to a point mentally where it's like, is it really worth it? And then the other thing, and this is the biggest health or the biggest mental health risk, is after. Because once you attain six-pack abs and you watch them go, oh man, that's a hard place. It's on the way down that gets you. I'll always try to reference this as a great quote by Keith Billows. He was like one of the second or third podcasts. He had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and he had said, man, most people really underestimate. It's not the climb up that gets you. It's the way down. It's really hard. And that's for business and life and everything. On the way down, when you're gaining your weight back, which, like, if you get six-pack abs and your body's not used to staying there, it can be really hard not to binge, not to be obsessed over food. Then you start gaining weight and you start worrying. It's tough. So it's wrong of me to say that it's not worth a venture. If anyone wants to just achieve that physique at one point in their life, I recommend that you just go in having grace with yourself, as Ikiaka says, to be okay if it comes away after, and try to find that nice in between where I like the way I look and I'm enjoying my life and my relationships are terrific. You might find going to the far end pushed you so well that you learned the amount of discipline you could have. You learned what it took to get there. And like, obviously not trying to do like a ton of cardio, trying to do it sustainable. It's just like, literally, it's so slow and tenuous and long, especially if you're coming from a higher level of body fat. And then you'll ask to stay there. You still have to hold off from all these social relationships and social occasions. Is it worth it? I think the journey is still really cool to experience. I'll always look back with pride of what I've accomplished. And so for me to say someone shouldn't try to attain that is, I just believe it's wrong, because I see the value in it, because I got to know what it was like. I know what this version of me like, and I'm pretty healthy. I'm very happy. Am I happier than I was then? I don't necessarily want to compare apples and oranges, but I actually feel healthier now. I feel like I'm not as stressed. I have significantly higher energy, and I just have more freedom with my social occasions. And so there's a lot of give and take there. This long tangent is just to open. It's okay to have an open mind to say, I want to have six-pack abs, but know that there's a ton of sacrifice that goes along with it. Know that it is extremely unlikely that you're going to sustain it. So I would see it as a journey, but then plan on the way down and have forgiveness and grace on the way back, because it's not easy, and it's not easy on the way back, especially. The other thing too, I want to come back to, just have to highlight, probably my favorite part of the whole episode was him talking about the 70-year-olds, like just the fact that he incidentally ended up working with seniors. And as I mentioned, that little surprise, like, you always get surprised by your clients. It's like, I didn't expect to click with this person, and I did. I learned something so new from just working with this person. And I had a feeling once he started to describe how he started with it, it's like, already I have to give him credit, because he said we started with getting up and down out of a chair. And that's how simple it has to be. To go from getting up and down out of a chair to deadlifting 100 pounds and goblet squatting 40, that's goddamn incredible. And I hope it really hit Ikiaka, like, he saved her life, because she fell and she had a bruise, and she's in her 70s. The amount of 70-year-olds that could afford a fall and get a bruise is quite minimal, very minimal. And I think it's important for you to know, if you're hopefully you're strength training right now. And if you're not, it's very important to know, once you get over the age of 60 and 70, that fall can be fatal. I probably talked about it on the podcast before, but I have to reiterate, if you're a senior citizen, which I think technically is above 55, but let's say above 60 or 70, if you break your hip there's an 80 to 90% mortality rate within a year or so after, because you're bedridden. And if you're frail, osteoporosis, she couldn't support her arm because she's not strong enough. She could have fallen right onto her hip and the hip breaks. And that's it. Now she's bruised and she gets another probably 5, 10, maybe even 20 years. Sounds like she's very fit, that she gets to be with her grandkids and gets to, man, what a powerful thing. I could lift up. He came and jumped in my arms. Oh, it gives me goosebumps. So I'll use this analogy again. I've definitely talked about it on the podcast before, but this just brings it up. When you think about your health and what health means, living long, yeah, what does that mean? That means nothing to someone in their 20s, 30s, sometimes not even 40s. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But for sure, if you can put yourself in the 70-year, 80-year-old, 90-year-old self, and just remember, if you do not maintain the effort towards your fitness, think of what you'd miss with your grandkids. Just put it there. Put it in the idea is like, if I don't change my ways, let's say I lose 10 years. Let's just say that's what it is. We happen to know this from a machine. And then you lose 10 years and you miss your grandkids' graduation. You miss their birthdays. You miss so many occasions that you could have been there for them because you weren't training, because you weren't caring about your nutrition. Or you can look forward to those 10 years. Yeah, I'm going to play sports with them. I'm going to go to their baseball games and throw with them. And I'm super excited when they get into the gym. I'm going to go in the gym with them. I'm going to cook meals with them. Think about all the things that you could get to do with them, lift them up, carry them around, because you started now. I really hope that this episode inspired you in some way from that message alone. Between the body image and that one, I think it was really powerful. Hopefully you heard some fun things when it came to our overrated, underrated. That wasn't so rapid fire, but some fun chats there. And I think there's a lot of good info here for you. I left all of Ikiaka's info in the podcast show notes, so don't hesitate to go check out his stuff. I think he's an excellent coach. He's posting all the time. So take a look at his stuff, especially if you're in your 70s and you want to work online with someone, because he has great experience with that. So thank you so much for listening. Please leave a 5-star review, leave a comment, anything that you like about this. Always appreciate it. And I just have to always come back to thank you for listening to me and my friends in the fitness industry rant about training and nutrition, and just listen to me rant. I always appreciate you committing your time to this. So thank you so much, because I genuinely really appreciate it. Because I'm always here to help you chase your own ambition, because we know life is not about the pursuit of happiness, but rather it's about the happiness within your pursuit. And I'll catch you next time.